All right, hello, Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. We mock the news so you don't have to. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
All is well here. That is Jake Vevra, stand-up comedian in New York City. I am Nathan Timmel, stand-up comedian in Iowa City. And let's just jump right in. Jake, I almost can't believe this is real. This has to be the news story of the year, and yet nobody really covered it. It did not make any real news source. If it did, it was buried where I couldn't find it. I only saw it in one place, and thankfully they had the video there to show that it's real. Headline, someone paid George Santos to make Cameo clip for NAMBLA. Hi,
That's
NAMBLA.
pretty
I just
awesome.
wanted to stop by to offer you my full support and that I am here for you if you need anything. I mean, and they have the video of George Santos. They just put it's literally Anchorman. He will read anything put in front of him. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Well, now, to be fair to Santos, to be fair to George Santos, NAMBLA stands for the North American Man Boy Love Association. In Brazil, it's a totally different thing. I don't know if it's as close as Sampla, if it's south of it. That actually sounds like a slur a bit. It sounds like a racial slur, but then when you explain what it is, it's like, oh no, that's actually way worse. It's way worse than you calling me a member of Sampla was way worse than you making a reference to the pigmentation level in my skin. You're saying I wanted to legal to diddle,
little boys.
kids.
Yeah,
Little boys.
your levels are a little high. You're a little like overmodulated slightly as you speak in.
Good to know.
I mean, my God, first of all, it's brilliant. The person that thought of that said, you know what? I bet if I just toss a bunch of money at him, he's not going to research it if he's not heard of it. Like, it was just a roll of the dice, a flip of the coin.
Especially, dude, in 2024, that sounds like someone's name. I would have fallen for it too, probably. I mean, I know what NAMBLA is, but NAMBLA is kind of obscure and in the weeds. Is my
well, I mean, I knew what it was just from making jokes about it for years. South Park has really pushed it for a little while. I mean, that was an older episode, but you're right. I would love to know what they sent him. If they said, hey, NAMBLA is an organization that helps kids, or I would love to know if
no, did you read the video? It said happy anniversary. He thought it was someone's name.
The name or an organization, because he said we're here for you. I mean, it could be.
Oh, got you.
I want to congratulate you on your success and your anniversary. I want to know that you're doing a great job. You're doing great. Yeah, I suppose he is. Like, it could go either way if it's but I mean, my God. And then the bottom of the article, the fact that I'd forgotten about this, that he's suing Jimmy Kimmel because Kimmel had already done this, had pranked him into reading stupid shit, which he does.
That's true.
It's I don't know how this didn't get picked up by major sources. Maybe they're finally, because they're all focused on Trump and his trial and something going on in the Middle East. Did you hear about that?
There's a lot. Apparently
something in Israel,
Palestine. You got something going on.
Yeah,
I think there's too much news for. Hey, there's a funny NAMBLA joke at George Santos's expense. Like, I get it. That's why we're here, though. That's right in our wheelhouse. I'm glad that the New York Times left this one to us.
Yes. Well, I wonder. See, now I want to see what the next person's going to trick him with. I should have written a few jokes down, but I didn't, because I mean, you can't let this go. You have to let it sit for a week or two and then hit him again, because it's you got to keep hitting him until he catches on and finally starts Googling, what he's being asked to say.
At this point, I think he'd just take the $200, man. Like, I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he would be like, dude, it is still worth $200 to me when I have the convenient excuse and the, totally legitimate excuse of turning around afterwards, shrugging and going, I didn't know what the fuck it was,
Well, I just Googled Santos responds NAMBLA to see if there was a retraction or anything like, how dare they trick me? But all it is this headline: George Santos throws full support behind NAMBLA. That's kind of misleading.
Clickbaity.
Yeah, but it's also dupe my NAMBLA. But yeah, nothing's. Oh, here we go. George Santos boils in rage after he was tricked into celebrating pedophilia. Disgraced.
Was he boiling in rage, or was he mildly annoyed and probably chuckled a bit?
We all love you. Okay. Try again. Your cunty ways and BS don't scare me. Santos replied to Carducci, "Bring on your dumb ratchet, bitch." But it doesn't seem like he's like he didn't issue a retraction. It's just someone tweeted at him, and he tweeted back that they're a cunt. Yeah, so that headline's also he's not boiling in rage. Just someone called him something. So yeah, but he apparently just took the money and did it, and hasn't said, "Oh, they tricked me, they got me," which is the best thing to do. Fuck it, just take the money.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that this happened to what was it Brett Favre who read something for some obscure like white supremacy group or something like that on
I don't remember
Cameo.
that. He's been in the news for stealing all the money from the Mississippi.
It was some huge quarterback did that, but I love that George Santos's version of that is NAMBLA,
Yeah.
which you don't really hear a lot about NAMBLA anymore, you know?
No, I thought they were done. I mean, do they even have 100 members nationwide? I would hope not, but
I mean, it's sort of a catch-22, right? Because I'll bet there's a lot of people who I'll call them the silent majority of pedophiles who just sit there quietly. They're like, I like what these guys are about, but you know what? I kind of feel like this is rule 1 to being a kid diddler. Don't talk about being a kid diddler. Rule 2 through 17 also don't talk about it. So I don't want to come forward, because this will get me caught. If I sign up for their newsletter, call me a huge Alex Jones conspiracy theorist, but I think the FBI might somehow get wind of this.
it's like the people that like you said with the silent they vote one way, like they keep track of NAMBLA, they support them, but they aren't vocal about it. But if there was something on a ballot measure, they check a box that votes in their favor, that goes in their favor in the ballot booth. They just wouldn't be vocal about it. They wouldn't put a placard in their front yard.
Yeah, right. What NAMBLA's got to do is not to give too much hot advice to NAMBLA on how to succeed in their overall mission, but if you're going to ask for donations, you got to have it show up kind of like porn sites, dude, where it's like, oh, this is just the Golden Capital One Bank or whatever. You know what I mean? Like something that sounds like a credit card. And you can't have a bank statement with Kid Touchers USA
Yeah.
showing up right on there. I mean, it's got to be something. You got to be a little more discreet. I would think with that kind of thing.
Like the sex toys that promise discreet packaging. It doesn't come in a big you bought this from lustandlove.com. They just
right. You got to do it the way the pedophiles in DC do it. You got to call it a pizza restaurant. Like you got to do something. You got to do something. You can't just have NAMBLA on the bank statement there. The only one who's going to not know what that is George Santos.
You got to interview Tom Hanks and Oprah Winfrey to see how they do it, because so far QAnon were the only people to see through their evil ways. The rest of us mere mortals, we just still think that Tom Hanks is a nice guy and Oprah is just a rich windbag. But QAnon, they figured it out. So got to figure it out.
Yeah, they don't just send each other open text messages and Facebook tags talking about let's go drink kid blood tomorrow.
Yeah,
they're sneaky.
You got to learn the
Smart.
secret handshake. Hey, speaking of crazy, we should have opened with this. I forgot to tell you. It didn't blow up, but the fact we talked about that Max guy last week that lit himself on fire, kind of like when I said I circumcised my kid and the crazies came out of the network. The people that are into Max light himself on fire shit, they sort of went after us a little bit on that video last week. Not
really?
A lot. It didn't blow up crazy, but there are a few people that are like, this is tragedy. You're going to discover he was right. Like maybe you should try reading his stuff before. I said flat out that I read his manifesto. So I don't really have much to say about it, but yeah, we got some comments on YouTube because we talked about that Max guy. Speaking of crazies.
Oh, if you really cared about his message that much, you'd be on fire right now too. You're a poser. You say you love Max and his message and his plans. But no, it's anybody can just retweet a guy that lights himself on fire. All right. You got to get down there with the kerosene and go.
I'm saying that, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, shit, I hope his name is Max. I'd already forgotten. I was making it up, but Max Azzarello, Azzarello, Max, yeah, but either way.
I mean, if he's going to go to the trouble of emulating himself, you could at least get his fucking name right, dude.
I know that's on me. I'm a
Come
bad
on now.
podcaster. I should
Come
be
on
more
now.
professional in my
If I
making.
like, sorry, getting over a little Kofsky poo. If I, people read my name Vivera instead of Vevra all the
Yeah.
time, probably because my dumb Czechoslovakian Eastern European ancestors couldn't spell for shit. So that I don't really correct them. That said, I haven't lit myself on fire. If I light myself on fire, they better say Vevra instead of Vivera.
They
Goddammit.
better get it right.
It's right.
All right. Oh, this was cute. So we haven't really talked about this. The biggest news of all week. Well, the two stories. Trump is on trial. No one cares. Well, everyone pretends to care, but all the university protests, and then my favorite part. So we can talk about the overall protest, but Ilhan Omar's daughter arrested, kicked out of Columbia, barred from campus housing, dining hall after anti-Israel protest suspension. She left a quote saying, "Where is it? I was a little frantic. Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to go? All my shit is thrown. It's pretty horrible. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go home." You're a representative's daughter. Pretty sure you were getting a hotel room for the night. This idea that there's all this panic, it's literally you call mom, you're in the Four Seasons, for fuck's sake.
You mean, yeah, most of the people you see at the end of the A train, smelling like piss and nodding off on fentanyl. Yeah, they're not the children of senators and Hunter Biden I've seen a couple times there, but for the most part, they're not the children of representatives.
True. Hunter had to work really hard to get there, though. It's not like he was kicked out of school and the next day was pissing himself in a crack withdrawal, shakes. It was
That's true.
It took some time. So I just thought
I did see him wake up, step off the A train and get into a limo. I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. This guy rocks.
It's just the idea that I don't know, maybe it's because she's just a kid, but the fact that I was so stressed, I don't know what I was gonna do. You're a rich kid. You've one phone call. You've got a hotel room for a month if you need it. You've got an airline ticket home. This isn't a big deal. But my favorite part of it is, oh shit. Turns out actions have consequences. She's a living example of the famous quote, "Fuck around and find out." You're out there protesting shit that you pick a side. Great for you. You're making it black and white when it's a very nuanced and ugly and centuries long back and forth bullshit fight, and you're just taking one and there you go. Instead of having a dialogue, you shouted and screamed, threw a tantrum, and oops, you got kicked out of school. That makes me happy. That makes me laugh.
Well, look, and I think the protests are getting overblown by the right. They're out on they're acting like they took over the whole fucking school. Now they're out on the lawn. Who gives a shit? You even look at the aerial photo; it's one half of a giant lawn. They didn't even take the whole lawn.
I agree, and also
clear.
I read several articles where the cops, the police, the NYPD came out and said the kids are great. What's happening is there are 40 or so outside agitators that are using this to try and get them riled up and start fights. I'm not against the kids protesting. I was stupid as fuck when I was 19. I'm still stupid as shit. But I still think it's funny. It's like, yes, I think they should be able to protest, freedom of speech. Oh, speaking of completely aside, someone circulated this great video of Greg Abbott signing remember when in 2019, 17, when Milo Yiannopoulos and Ann Coulter were getting kicked off of college campuses, they were protesting, and the right wing was saying, hey, colleges, you need freedom of speech. A video just circulated of Greg Abbott signing there must be free speech on college campuses. And so that's going around right now as he's saying, we need to lock these kids up. And
that's just it. Everybody is all about free speech until they hear something they don't like. Then it becomes completely different. It's just like, on the flip side of that, to that note, to compare it to people like Ann Coulter getting protested kicked off. If instead of free Palestine, those signs said "Stop the Steal" or MAGA or Free Trump or something like that, it would be handled by the media and by the college very differently.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my whole thing with it.
Well, and I heard another one though. So there are several sides to this. Like I said, I'm not against the protest. I just think it's funny she got kicked out of college, because it's like the same way I thought it was funny when Lauren Boebert's kid got pregnant at 17, got someone pregnant. Sure. I just love Um, I heard several people make this point. If these kids were out there wearing hoods and dropping the N bomb, it would be treated wildly different.
Oh, like not even that. Not even that. Just a conservative, hey, we're pro-Trump. We don't like that he's on trial or this
No,
or
I'm just saying, as
anything
far
like
as the
that.
anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
they're
right.
getting
Yeah.
away with anti-Semitism. If they were dropping N bombs, this shit would not fly. They
Well,
wouldn't
I'll say
have
even if it was
professors supporting them.
well, I'll say even if it was anti-Semitism by guys with tiki torches instead of free Palestine signs. If I've been saying this since back in October when these protesters or other protesters in the same area barricaded a bunch of Jewish students inside the library at NYU. I was saying if these guys had MAGA hats on
Yeah.
instead of like Palestine flags and the checkered scarves and all that, uh, we'd still be talking about it as if it was Charlottesville on the left and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's completely it kind of hypocritical in terms of the coverage, in terms of how it's being treated by the university. That said, yeah, I think the right's kind of blowing it up too, man. Like I said, they're out on the lawn. It's not like they're storming these fucking buildings. It's not, they're out. And the thing is being on a lawn like that in New York City, in Manhattan, is way different than if you did it like, I don't know, in the University of Iowa or something. It's surrounded by a whole bunch of buildings. You get one block away, you don't even know that's fucking happening anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, the city just swallows stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's overblown. It reminds me of two things. One, I had a buddy that when I went to Okinawa several times, I made friends with a guy there, and I would visit him every time, and he would talk about every so often a Marine would do something shitty to an Okinawan, and then there'd be protests, kick Americans off the island, get American military bases out, but they weren't they were the protests to get the military were overblown, overreact they were
Well,
over
right.
covered. And so he said flat out, told me, this is a firsthand story, this is not a someone told me and someone told, this is, he said one day he was sitting in his office and he turned on the news and it's like the protests continue, and there was this tight shot of all these people like, go home USA, go.
Right.
And he's like,
Guys.
hey, that's the front gate right there outside. And he turned and looked out his window, and there were like 20 people, but the camera was tight, making it look like this big crowd, because if you pull the camera back, it's 20 people, it's not a big protest. And two, I know this is a movie, but it's based on the HBO movie Live from Baghdad showed the exact same thing, protesting America. They're over covering the Iraqi war, back in Kuwait, and they said as soon as the news cameras go off, everybody goes home. They show up, like they do their protest for the cameras, then they go home. It's sort of like not a job, but it's to get attention. When they get the attention, so if you really want these protests to go the way, ignore the kids. Fucking ignore them. Hey, you go camping. We're gonna go on with our daily lives as long as you aren't doing anything, violent or disturbing. If you're not barricading Jewish kids in rooms or preventing them from get to class, if you are just camping, fucking ignore them and let them, yeah.
Well, and that's what they're doing for the most part. I will say that this is sort of a problem I've seen with a lot of different protest groups is these days they don't tend to get as good at weeding out the crazies, at sort of like, hey, this guy is yelling really anti-Semitic shit. Because I don't think it's fair to label the vast majority of these protesters as anti-Semitic either. A lot of them are Jewish,
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are stupid.
You will have these small fringe groups within there that will yell, like pro-Hamas things or, kill all the Jews, like whatever.
Well, there was a guy that the leader in California.
Yeah.
And he got banned from campus too.
Well, right. And these groups are not good enough at just sort of separating these at completely pushing out the fringe elements within the group about doing it. And you can point and be like, well, that's only 10 people over there. Yeah, but you also don't really have any like clear leadership either. And the opposition will always, if you don't have clear set leadership, somebody to go out and be like, this is who we are. This is what we're standing for. We're not against Jewish people. We're against the actions of the Israeli government in the Gaza bombing campaign. If you don't have somebody to clearly state that, I representing the group, if you don't have that, the opposition will point the cameras at the 10 nuttiest motherfuckers that are there with their faces covered up and don't represent. They will, if you will not define who's leading your movement, the media will do it for you, and you will not like the 10 fucking nut jobs they pick every time. It happened at Occupy Wall Street.
That's what I was waiting for you to say. I was going to say that was the problem with Occupy Wall Street, is it was like, we don't have leaders. Now, the guy that did say all Zionists should die, he was a leader of the one of the California chapters. So,
but that's it. That's it. You got to clearly define leadership, and you got to weed out the crazies. If you're not doing those things,
well, he was crazy.
The media is going to portray you all as nut jobs.
And I know this is limited. I interjected. I said there a lot of them are really stupid. I have seen and video after video after video, and one just went viral yesterday. Did you see it? Like, hey, what are you protesting? What do you want? Well, I think that Colombia needs to. I don't really know. What are we protesting again? Like, a lot of them are
just students. They're like 20 years old. Yeah,
they don't know anything.
They'll pick
they're
the
just
dumbest, craziest people. They'll let that define your movement. Yeah. You got to have leaders. You got to vet them, make sure they're not fucking nuts. Get it.
And your supporters shouldn't be stupid. You should tell your supporters, hey, here are our talking points. This is why we're doing this.
Right.
And not just, but I know sometimes the camera people, they do selective editing. They talk to 20 people and then they show you the 3 stupidest ones that give the answer. I don't know. I'm just, free Palestine, but they don't know anything about Hamas or what happened on October 7th, or, they will interview 20 people and show the 3 dumbest ones because those make for the best viral videos.
Like, I'm sure at some of the civil rights marches, there was probably a couple weird dudes that showed up to Selma in tinfoil hats talking about, and they also created polio, these motherfuckers who won't let us on the bus. Like, there was probably, and they were like, look, now here, put the camera on the guy with the suit, not this fucking guy over here.
You can march and hold a sign because we need the numbers, but you're not going to be interviewed.
Yeah, like you need infrastructure. You need people that know how to talk to the press. You need good legal people. You know what I mean? And it's just
All right. I sent you this story last week. We didn't get to it, and I thought it was pretty funny. The headline: "Sick of your blue state? These real estate agents have just the place for you." And they profiled one specifically in South Carolina, because many staunch conservatives from deeply blue states such as New York, Washington, and California are fed up with the politics there. She wanted to help them find conservative neighborhoods of like-minded people in South Carolina. So I looked up South Carolina. It's 42nd in education among the top 10 states listed as the most dangerous. It came in at number 8 on the list of 4.91 violent crimes per 1,000 residents.
Well, you don't put that on the brochure. What are you doing?
And the chances of becoming a victim of violent crime were 1 in 204, compared with 1 in 128 in New Mexico, the most dangerous state. So, I mean, it's like, I just thought that was funny. The idea that, you know what, we're sick of all these queerosexuals getting married and changing genders. We're going to go to South Carolina where good people are Christians and there's high crime rate and bad education. And, it's funny. And I went through several other states. I didn't write them down. I was like, just, you fuck it off with your idiot idea of, oh, California's a liberal haven. Yeah. And their budget's for shit. And they have too many regulations. Oh, Texas is a wonderful place for freedom because of, but women are treated like shit and they have no personal rights. It's like,
yes. And when it snows, they have not been regulating the electric companies at all. Yeah. And everything will freeze over and it's fucked up. There's problems to under regulation as well.
Yeah, all these fucking states have good and bad in them. Someone I've seen, they did a breakdown, and for all the high taxes in California, your dollar goes further there than it does in Texas, because I don't remember, but he broke it down showing how in Texas they get your money in other ways. So like they say, oh, the cost of living is cheaper, but it's actually not. Like, you don't pay the government, but everything else is fucked. It's moving around the country. Yes, some places are better than others, but you can't look at red and blue as the fucking end all be all haven to your bullshit, because it's just not how life works.
Yeah, but I'm kind of on these realtors' side though. Like,
Well, yeah, you
you
got
know,
to. It's a good sales
you're
pitch
a
for
real
dummies.
estate agent in a fucking deep red state where people are
Yeah,
moving. Yeah, man, speak to that.
I think there should be the same thing for blues. You know, like, hey, did Texas or Florida pass an anti-abortion bill, and you're a freedom-loving woman? Move here. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, when
sales
I
pitch.
used to do real estate here, I used to put right in the Craigslist ad, less than 7 blocks from an abortion clinic. You know what I mean? I would advertise things that people love in blue states. We love to give those things the old Planned Parenthood finishing move. What is the old blue state snooze?
I love the fact that just the idea of getting an apartment off Craigslist. I mean, like, you're scraping bottom there. If they're not willing to pony up the $10 to get on like a sort of, it's like Plenty of Fish versus a eHarmony. Well, I don't feel like paying for eHarmony. I'm going. It's like, yeah, you're getting the bottom feeders. You're getting the
Oh,
ones
we
that
got a
don't
lot of
want to
bottom
pony up the
feeders.
money to get a good dating site.
Yeah, yeah. I was a bad dating site of realtors for sure.
All right. Our favorite guys back in the news. Thanks, you pop up ad for opening. Now, this was an interesting article because as I scanned through it, it was just a lot of rhetoric, but absolutely zero links and no actual numbers. The website is called Political Flair, and the headline is Tesla sales plummet as Democrats stop buying the electric cars due to Elon Musk. The man cannot shut his mouth. By Andrew Simpson. Motherfucker just talks about how Elon's a dick and Democrats have not bought his cars. No links to facts, no sources. But after posting it so that we could talk about how this guy doesn't cite anything, I listened to a New York Times report podcast that said Tesla sales have dropped 50%. Didn't talk politics, but at the same time, the overall growth of electric vehicles is strong. So it really does seem like people don't like Elon Musk at the moment.
Well, I think that's true. I think there's also the issue of, um, who made the smartphone first? That was Apple, right?
Yeah, that was Jobs.
So after after Android started doing theirs, I mean, you probably would have seen something similar
Right.
in that the market is now split.
Well,
You
the
have all
same
these
thing.
other car companies that are making electric vehicles. They're not the only game in town anymore.
Yeah, and theirs are the high-end expensive ones, just exactly like Apple and Android. Apple
Well,
still has the most expensive phone,
yeah.
and so I did
Tesla's
this.
got cheaper ones though too. You can get a Tesla for like 30 grand now.
Yeah. And I my iPhone, I always buy the low end one. I bought one a couple months ago. It's funny. A kid made fun of me. This kid's like, "Your iPhone has a button, dude. It's time to buy a new one." I said, "This is new. I bought it a month ago." He's like, "What?" Like, yeah, I bought an SE. I bought like a $300 brand new iPhone. I don't need the 15 with all the bells and whistles. I'm fine with my low end SE. It's still more power than I need for a
I
phone.
bought I bought mine from an old lady that sells churros on the subway. She sells churros and she sells iPhone 7s with the button.
The same thing. This was kind of interesting. The same podcast, the New York Times podcast that broke down Elon Musk. They did say he kind of fucked himself in China. They broke down very interestingly how when California got too expensive with labor, he finally started the same thing like, okay, I was an American company, but I should probably open a Tesla plant in China and spread out there. And just long story short, China was not making very many electric vehicles. So China gave him incentives to open there, but it was sort of like a bait and switch because as soon as he started making Teslas there, then the suppliers started catering to him a little bit, or not catering to him. He got suppliers. And so once the supply chain was in China, then Chinese companies said, oh, well, now there's a supply chain for electric vehicles. We're going to start making those. And someone came in and started kicking the shit out of him with lower priced EVs because they allowed Tesla to build the infrastructure, and they just swooped in and started saying, okay, well, you've got a battery plant making batteries that you buy. Well, we'll just start buying batteries from the same place. And
Yeah, it
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
so yeah, he's getting a little fucked sideways. He fucked up Twitter, and now Tesla's fucking up, and he's still, well, who cares? He's still the second richest man on the planet. So
Well, yeah, he's not hurting for cash for
no,
sure. I mean, you do have to wonder though, maybe if he was spending more time with Teslas as
yeah.
a company and not dicking around at Twitter
If he had
trying to
ignored Twitter
own the libs.
altogether,
What's up?
if he had just ignored Twitter 100%, never bought it, if he had just focused on SpaceX and Tesla and not gotten involved in the whole free speech fight.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get how, as a dude at that level, financially and just in terms of the eyes of the public, who's sitting there going, "Oh, for my legacy, I want to be remembered for well, the guy who really brought electric cars to the market, really revolutionized the industry. Also, I want to be known as a basically like a privatized NASA. I want to do that. But you know what would really be the crown jewel of my achievement? Social media platforms as well. I want to have people tweet each other. Like, what do you, dude? That's all. Even if Twitter was going well, you'd be, if you died tomorrow, you'd be known more for the other two companies are such bigger things than this. This would be like Gordon Ramsay opening a taco truck.
Yeah, like when okay, two years ago, if someone said, "Hey, talk about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg," you would say, "Oh yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. People post pictures of their cats." Elon Musk, electric cars, SpaceX. You know, he's trying to save the environment, greenhouse gases, no more. Now it's like, oh yeah, he tanked Twitter and he allowed fucking all the assholes that have been banned back on the platform, and now my feed is full of complete bullshit like Jim Jordan always talking about how he likes to allow wrestlers to get molested. Oh, wait, that's just what everybody tells him every time he says something stupid. Hey, remember that time you let the wrestlers get her? But either way, yeah, you just turned it into a cesspool.
Yeah, this would be like if you were the head chef at one of Gordon Ramsay's, like, Michelin star restaurants. And for some reason, he's not spending his time there anymore, really marketing it and making it, keeping it what it is. He instead has opened a hot dog truck, a little hot dog cart, where he's giving people dysentery. He's like got some new ideas with hot dogs, and like people are getting sick, like really seriously ill. And he's like, "Well, I don't have to wash me fucking hands." Like he's just whatever he's doing over there. I don't know what he's using, pigeon parts or whatever. Our ancestors used to eat pigeon dogs and they were delicious, and he's going nuts at this hot dog cart. And like to where they're like, dude, the people are getting dysentery from his hot dog cart. I'm damn sure ain't going to his restaurant. And now sales are plummeting at the restaurants. And it's like, dude, just stay. What are you doing? Why
Yeah.
did you spend all this money on the hot dog truck?
To be fair, I do think hot dogs probably already have pigeon in them already.
Well, yeah, it was
All right.
really tomato at that point.
Final story. I only sent this to you because it popped across my feed, and it just made no sense to me. I guess it's an exotic thing, but luxury handbag designer jailed for wildlife smuggling, making merchandise out of protected species. And I'm like, oh shit, you hear stories like this, like the ultra wealthy, like, oh, this is made of the one of the last three, or oh, they still trade in ivory. She was using where is it, the purses. She made purses out of the skins of protected reptiles. I thought it was somewhere lower where I'm missing it now, where it was a snake. It was a python.
Python, right?
Yeah, oh, there it is. The python species were made out of. They're like, hey, I guess my only thought was, go to fucking Florida. If you need snake skin, they fucking pay you to kill those snakes. They want to get all those snakes out of the Everglades. So it's a win-win. Not only do you get
What
paid
gator?
to send some guy, yeah, well, they want both of them. Just go get one of the fucking pythons out. You get money for getting the python, and then you make the handbag, and you get paid twice. That was all I thought. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I used to have when I was a kid. I remember I had a rattlesnake wallet because I thought it was cool, and I'm
Then
like,
you
dude, is
turned
it
12
really?
and realized it wasn't.
I was like I was like in elementary school, but yeah, I think I have a Stingray one now. I just saw him selling a cart. That's the thing, like it's cool little reptile leather. Like I don't know what the difference is from one reptile. Like who's picking up this and going, what's this, gator? Hey, this is shit. I like python. Like python, like, to the point to where it's worth paying. How many times more expensive is the python one going to be than the snake one, or than the rattlesnake? I don't get it.
Well, and also what you just said, it's something you and I have talked about numerous times for no reason. Um, who is actually holding this endangered python purse up against a just Florida python with a jeweler's loop? It's exactly like the cubic zirconia and diamond. Like, oh, wait a second. I see a ring on your finger. Let me examine it closely and try and cut glass. You're fake. That's fake.
Let me see this leather. Let me see it. Nah, that ain't python leather. What is this? I can't buy a python wallet in New York City without half of it being baking soda. I mean, it is cut. It is cut python leather. It's been stepped on.
It's not like Coke. You're going to notice when it's going up your nose whether or not it's got baking soda or Drano in it. Not the liquid Drano, the detergent, baking.
Yeah, I think anybody who sells a rattlesnake purse and tries to pawn it off as a python purse, I mean, they should be in jail.
Yeah, I think that's what we should be going after, is not the python purses, but the counterfeiters. All right. You can listen to Jake live every Thursday on the Twisted Cupid podcast on is it YouTube? On YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
You can find Jake at Jake Vevra on all social media. Last week, I informed you that Jake just recorded a comedy special. I know it's not going to be out after a week, but do you have an update? Like, have you found an editor, or have you set a date? Like, I want to have it done by May 25th.
I'm locking down an editor now. We're in the works, so hopefully soon. I'm hoping within a month or so. Nice. I don't know.
So watch for Jake's comedy special.
Yes.
My comedy special, Unapologetic, is out now. You can find it at my website, nathantimmel.com. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Chicago's Comedy Scene Radio Network. And apologies to every single male who was circumcised. We're still apologizing for that podcast from years ago. And apologies to everyone that loved Max Azzarello, but you don't really love him because, as Jake said, you should have lit yourself on fire by now if you really did love him.
If people cared about these python purses, they'd light themselves in fire in front of this store.